Okay, good morning and welcome to the Men's Swiss Cup Basel. This is a Curling Champions Tour event and 8:30 in the morning, quite early. My name is Roger Gulke. I'm here with Al Moore and we'll be commentating the Ulsrud versus Michel, Sven Michel from Switzerland game. Al Moore is national trainer for Switzerland. How are you doing this morning?
I'm wide awake and looking forward to a great game between these two Olympic teams that'll be facing each other in Olympics, so I'm sure they'll be wanting to establish some superiority over each other.
Yep. And as we were watching before, those teams played, I think, 8 times already in the Curling Champions Tour.
They have, right now, Thomas Ulsrud holds a 5-3 advantage in the games they've played previously on the World Curling Tour. However, last year at both Swiss events in Basel and Baden, they played each other, and Sven Michel's team won both of those games, so they'll be looking to recapture that magic this morning.
Yep.
They played last shot draw to determine last rock in the first end. Ulsrud won that shot, so he has last rock in the first end. And he'll be looking to get a 2 to get jump into a lead.
And already some action going on there with already 3 rocks in play. So teams are not wasting time to try to attack.
Yeah, I think the teams know each other very well, and I expect that this will be lots of stones in play, both teams trying to get to that advantage.
Yeah. And Ulsrud with the first advantage will probably try and score 2 right away. Started already with a corner guard, and that shows already his intentions right away to try and put some pressure as much as he can. While Sven Michel will try and use that center guard there in the middle, maybe force Ulsrud to score only 1, or if possible a steal.
Yeah, a lot of teams early in the game will throw their first stone into the house to try and play it conservatively, but Sven's not having any of that. He threw his first stone as a guard. He's telling Ulsrud that he's not going to let him get off the hook so easily, and he's going right after him.
And now both teams trying to get the little hit and roll behind the guards. Hit and roll is always quite a tricky shot to play. You need to have a perfect combination between the speed of the rock and the direction.
Yeah, the ice has been pretty consistent, and they've played enough games on here now that they should have a pretty good idea of how much it moves.
So what you want is get a roll behind the guard. I think just how they managed to get it perfectly there, forcing Michel to...
You'll see that stone is completely covered behind the front guard, but with the amount of curl on the ice, Sven believes that he can hit it almost on the nose with the right weight.
Yeah. Well, we saw already Christopher Svaz stone curled quite a lot there to get the roll. It's a nice little hack weight. So just control for the teams, not forcing the speed, just trying to get it right.
Not quite enough weight to get out of the ring, so advantage Ulsrud now.
Yeah, who will I think try once again the hit and roll, and maybe try to roll behind his yellow rock this time. That's just a hit and stick. So after some drawing at the start of the end, we start having some hitting. Both teams taking we can say a measured risk. I mean, you try something, but you don't give it all. Of course, it's only the beginning.
Sven would like to force Ulsrud to 1 so that he can get last stone advantage back and try and get his 2 and establish the lead. He's shown that he's willing to take a little bit of risk to do that. He'd love to get a roll right now from third Claudio Petz.
Yeah. Always a little tricky to get that little roll. I thought it was one of the, let's say, it's really a super team shot. I mean, the hit and roll, because you need to have the skip that gives the ice properly. The guy who throws has to throw it right, and the sweepers have to communicate the exact speed to the skip so that they can hit the rock at the right spot to get the good roll.
Yeah, it's a very precise shot, and as you say, everybody on the team has to be involved to make it happen.
So that's all often once you know how to throw the rocks, like all those players, this is the kind of things you really practice. In those finesse shots to get the little extra that you always need.
Okay, Sven's got out of that because Torger did not get the roll into the house. Sven can now attack the other stone, hoping with quiet weight to get in behind and put a force together to force Ulsrud to have to take one, which would be his goal for this end.
Yeah, depending where he rolls, I mean, he has to stick in the rings because there's a split left in front of the house with the yellow just in front of the rings. And he seemed quite disappointed with this one. And
okay, not only did he not get that one, he's pushed the yellow stone into the house. And as you said, Thomas could actually, if he wanted to try, sit 4 on this by splitting that yellow one in. Or
could actually even do a peel, which would be an option, but he goes for the more aggressive shot.
yeah, so Thomas is going to right now try and put a lot more pressure on Sven by coming around the center guard. Now he won't want to come too deep. He'd like to be top 8 foot on this so that Sven can't freeze it and get out of the end by taking those other 2 stones away. If he was to come into the 4 foot and Sven froze on that stone, it would eliminate the other 2 yellows in the house.
I perfectly agree with you on this one. Just first thing to make sure is that you're in front of the T line. And then, yeah, top 8 is probably the perfect weight. Or maybe back 12. Nope. Yeah, so as we said just before, it's a little bit too deep probably, and it will allow Sven Michel to go for a freeze.
It's a dangerous shot for Sven. He's got to be precise here. If he doesn't make this one, he's looking at giving up a big end to Ulsrud to start the game off, and certainly doesn't want to do that. It would be quite an uphill struggle if he was to give up more than 2.
Yeah.
One thing the players did have is a 5-minute practice before the game, so they did get an opportunity to throw stones up and down the ice, and they do know what it's doing.
Well, I think you really need to get the line perfectly, because if ever you're a little bit too fast, you don't want to get a bump and a roll to stay open.
Yep, he's got to be short of the stone and in front of it.
Yeah, you really have to be in front of it. Really hard sweeping there. Uh-oh. This is not really what he wanted.
No, he's in a lot of trouble right now. This game is showing that Ulsrud could put this game into big jeopardy for the Swiss team if he is to make a shot right here. Sven will have a tough time of getting out of trouble.
Well, I think that if he gets it like, let's say, top 12 foot, at least half buried behind those center guards, I really don't see what Sven Michel can do. Probably come from the other side, try something. But
yeah, I think Thomas would like to freeze right down on top of his own Yellowstone. That would leave very little for Sven to do, and it'd be looking like he was going to give up probably at least a 3 if that happens.
Yeah, well, you can see right away how, let's say, well, there were 2 missed shots from the Swiss side. I mean, not only even it was misses, that they even gave a plus by pushing that a yellow rock in the house, but you can see right 2 mistakes, and it cost you I mean, it costs you really bad right away, and this is usually not a situation you want to have at the start of the game.
Hard on! Hard on! Hard on! Hard on! Yeah! Hard on!
A lot of sweeping from Ulsrud.
Hard on! Perfect.
You just heard them say perfect.
It's a very good shot.
Sven's in big trouble now, and he needs an outstanding shot to get out of trouble.
Yeah, that's how to say. Indeed, not the kind of shot you're hoping to play in the first end. But anyway, it's your job as a skip to get into those situations. You know, you can't always be sitting free.
We talk about the number of times the skip has to save the end for his team. And as Roger says, hopefully it's not in the very first end you have to do that, but this is a chance now Sven has to make. This is where Skip has to save the end, and he needs to freeze that shot stone and at worst give Ulsrud a chance to get two. Although even if he makes this shot, Ulsrud will have some options to get it out and still score a big end using that yellow stone in front of the house.
For example, or maybe depending on how he freezes on it, if it's angle freeze, he could also peel it and lose a yellow.
Yep.
So
an early big test for Sven.
Well, at least there's one good thing with it, is that if ever you want to get a big end score on you, it's rather be the first.
Yep.
So you got more time to catch up. That's not what we're hoping for, the Swiss team. And there it goes.
Whoa! Whoa! Freeze! Sacks! Sacks! Whoa! Whoa!
Now it has to be perfect with the weight. One finally just try and go behind.
Okay, you'll see he's got partly covered, and he is second shot back there. It is possible for Thomas to come down and tap it out and score a mittful, 5, and that's exactly what he's going to try to do. So that wasn't, Sven would have liked to have that stone frozen on the top yellow one. However, plan B, I guess it was in this case, a little bit heavy, and they elected to go to behind.
Actually, that was, I think, really good counter skipping there. Probably seeing that it was a little wide and the sweepers calling it a little fast. I mean, they managed to quickly, make their mind to go for plan B.
Yeah, I think they got the best out of that stone that they could.
Really, me too, same. It's good shot, still forcing Ulsrud to quite a difficult shot in the end to get his end, so he has to deserve it.
Thomas has a classic delivery. A lot of players would copy this and like to use his mechanics. Very simple, everything flows in a straight line. You see how balanced and solid he is. And that's just absolutely classic curling delivery. If you want to copy one, that's the one to copy.
The rock coming down, sweepers looking at it quite confidently. Oh, and I think it just makes it
perfect. And that's a huge start for Team Norway as they're off to a 5-0 lead.
Yeah, I don't think that's really what Michel accepted, but I suppose that's life. And now I think we're going to see a little bit of defense from the Norwegian side now.
And Norway will be trying to keep it as open and clean as they can, and the Swifts just have to take a big deep breath and realize that they've got, as you say, a long time to try and catch up, and they don't have to get it all back right now. If they were to score 2 now, give Norway 1, score 2, give Norway 1, and then score 2 again, they'll be within 1 point. So they're going to have to try and work on getting 2 and giving up 1 for the next 3 or 4 ends, and they can get themselves right back in the game without having to go crazy with dangerous tactics.
Yes, indeed. Well, anyway, I don't think that with a 5-point lead, Ulsrud would be trying to go into some kind of offensive game, but I think that now they just get that first rock in the center to kind of bother Michel, who will put a apparently corner guard.
Yeah, Ulsrud's goal right now is just to make as many ends disappear as he can. And actually, that's a bit of a mistake.
Yeah, and
they wanted that stone top 4 foot. They don't want to give Sven any stones at all that he can use. And what Sven's going to counter with here, he's actually going to guard that stone so that Ulsrud team cannot take it out. So rather than a corner guard, he's going to guard the Norwegian stone that's already in play, so that does not allow Ulsrud to take that stone out of play.
Yeah, interesting tactics. Actually, I think it's not such a bad idea. Maybe he's already taking a little bit of risk there. Only, let's say, the second end, even if he's 5-0 down.
They didn't quite get it covered, so you'll see Thomas is moving up to peel it away. He doesn't want to have any stones in front of the house that Sven can use to generate offense.
Yeah, the problem now with that guard is it's quite far away, the red one is talking in there. I mean, even if they get one buried behind, as we saw with the swing, I think even with a normal weight takeout with 10 and a half seconds, you could even get a rock behind on the nose.
Yep, you'll see Sven is playing a little bit of unorthodox tactics now because he didn't get a corner guard on the first one. And as Roger said, because that guard is so far out in front, he's going to actually try and come around that guard and stay short of the house, which will be a more useful stone that he can use later. He's just hoping for stones in play anywhere he can get them to try and generate some opportunity to score a 2.
Yeah, well, in the end, remember, that's what you told us once. It's actually quite simple to have a 2. You need a guard, a rock behind, or just 2 rocks in the house split. I mean, that's all what you're looking for. I mean, you're not looking for the crazy ends with thousands of freezes and stuff. You just need to get a guard and a rock behind, or just 2 rocks split in the house.
And you see, Swiss aren't quite on top of their game yet. They've left that stone in a place where both can be taken out and double peeled. They were trying to get those red stones one in front of the other, so they couldn't be double peeled off. They got a break there from Team Ulsrud, who did not make the double peel, and even worse, left their own stone in place. So now there's 2 guards for Sven to work with, and his opportunity for 2 is looking better. They just have to string a few shots together and give themselves a chance here.
Yeah, well, now at least, I mean, he's got a situation to score 2. I mean, he's got that guard in the center, which is, I think, quite well placed to get a good swing and go behind it. It's not going to be that easy to take away. And it's going to force Ulsrud to start playing some more complicated shots to get rid of the Swiss rocks out of the house.
Yep, you know, the object of the leads are to get stones in play for the rest of the team to use, and I guess mission accomplished as far as Team Michel goes.
Well, it was, let's say, in a way, quite a big miss from Christopher Sva. Not the fact that he didn't make the double, but more the fact that he even stayed with his other rock. Because imagining now that Ulsrud takes the guard off, I think as he's showing right now, the Swiss team can still go behind the other guard and actually have a really good opportunity to score the 2. Seems like he's looking for some double peel once again. He likes the big weight.
Take the big backswing to help him generate even more speed. So this is him flying down the ice, and he's just going to peel the 1 out of play.
Oh, and that was quite close actually, but still a 4 out of 4 on the statistics. Good peel from Christopher Sva with the big weight.
Yep. The situation now is that Team Michel could actually set up an opportunity for 3. If they can come around that yellow stone and Norway hits the open one, they could bring another stone in or hit and roll behind to sit 2 behind that yellow stone and possibly set up an opportunity for 3. And I know that's what they're thinking about right now, which would certainly get him back into this game.
5.
Yeah. Well, I think still in the back of his mind, he's got to be thinking, I'm trying at least to play already for a 2. The 3 will be a bonus, but the situation is there, so I mean, you must take it. You must make sure, like, that's why they're sweeping it so hard, is not to leave an easy double. I think they left an angle which is a little complicated for Ulsrud to make a double. It is there, but
Yeah,
see
Thomas
what
has got
he's
some
gonna try.
options. He can hit the stone. He just signaled he's going to hit the one that is behind the guard. There's enough curl on the ice that he can hit that one. They would have liked to have got that stone by Sandro a little bit deeper in the house, so this shot wasn't there.
Yep, hard. Ren, litt hard. Ren, 14.
Don't forget that if you have any questions or comments to leave us, you can always write us at the address you see at the bottom of your screen, live at curlingchampionstore.org.
Ingenting.
I know it's very early, but
Spill.
if ever you're watching us anyway, you can always send us-
Early or late, depending on where you're viewing us from.
Yeah, I think that in Canada it's quite early in the morning,
Den
or
han var
late in
here.
the evening. It
Late in the
depends how
evening,
you
yeah,
take it.
depending on what part of the country you may be tuning in from.
But anyway, you're always welcome, and
Good, freeze.
please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to send us your remarks at live at curlingchampionstore.org.
Good.
Sven's going to ignore that yellow shot stone. He's going to try and go behind the yellow guard, and he's still looking, I think, to try and generate 3 out of this end.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a risk to take, and
Fear.
yeah, I think I would probably have done the same if I were him.
I think the scoreboard certainly dictates this call. If the score is 1-0 or 0-0, I think you'd see him hit the stone in the house and try and get us through that
Exactly.
way. But the fact that he gave up 5, and as I said, they're just not quite sharp this morning. They just don't seem to have the feel of the ice.
That's another
Samme fart.
see,
Another
big miss.
mistake. That stone could have been at the back of the 8-foot. So that's very, very light.
Yeah, it's as we often say, you know,
Spear.
if you want to, let's say, miss, you want to have a good miss, and
Bare
I
ren.
imagine he's not behind in front of T-line. It doesn't really matter because I think that the first goal was really to make sure you were in the rings, and we see it's even quite far away from the ring despite the whole sweeping, and I mean, they have good sweepers. So
Not damage now.
I don't know if they have a little bit of trouble with the ice. Claudio Pets doesn't seem to be in his best day today.
Yeah, no, he must not have had his morning wake me up beverage, because he seems to struggle in the first end with speed. He was light with that soft takeout in the first end, and now he's light again with the draw. So the feeling just is escaping him at the moment.
Yeah, it's all those questions, you know, of confidence. It's, I mean, he's been there for a long time, and he also has a great technique and a lot of experience. And I mean, we know that he can do the shots.
Yeah, and that one he just overthrew it a bit. Probably a lot of frustration.
Just in the head there, I think.
Han drar rundt der, og så hva gjør han hvis du drar hit, da? Er vi på vi kommer der?
And what looked like a promising end to start with after a couple of wayward shots by Claudio, it's
Jeg tror ikke det er mer enn
now looking like it might even be
ja, noe sånt. Litt til, kanskje.
opportunity for Ulsrud to put a little more pressure on. So he's looking at throwing a guard on that yellow stone in the
Ja, den er
4-foot.
ikke så veldig høy, da.
As Torger's indicating they're short of the house
Ikke inn heller, for da kan den slå.
and putting more pressure on Sven.
Man kan få 2 på, men
Yeah, and now I think that Sven actually has to make sure that he doesn't get stolen on him there, because playing, you know, at the start of center guard, he ends up with center guards, which can actually allow Ulsrud to, in a way, already kill the game.
Mindre! Hvor hadde Håvard ristet senter her, da?
So I think that
Mindre!
I think we can even see from the body language of Michel that he's not really satisfied there. Not really looking forward to throwing his rocks. But I mean, he still has 2 rocks to play in, so a chance for 2.
See, they've giving almost 2 meters of ice.
Det
There's
er bra. Linje er
almost 2 meters of curl on this
Så nærmest er risk på overkølte.
this
På
guard.
slutten! Bare gå! Gå frem og køl! Her! Aldri av! Her! Ja, siste meter. Her! Jobb, 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 jobb!
Making it hard to make him go further, so that he gets more curl at the end. I think it's
He
quite
didn't
good.
quite get the job done there. There's room with the curl on the ice, there's room for Sven to actually get inside there. He's going to probably throw back 4-foot weight and try and rub off that Yellowstone and get in behind those 2 center guards. So the chance for 2 still exists. And as we said earlier in the end, 2 was the goal. Anything more would have been a bonus.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and he's got quite a good margin, I think, for the weight on this rock. I don't know if maybe he wants to play, like you said, back 4, maybe just a back line. But he just needs to make sure he gets contact on the right-hand side of the rock.
Yeah, he'll be trying to get to the inside to make it difficult for Thomas to remove.
And he's got the guards he needs. 1 rock behind the guard is enough. Came finally more back line.
Yeah, maybe a little more weight. A little less weight would have been given him opportunity to get some more curl.
Yeah.
So maybe a little more weight than he wanted.
Because finally he came by quite close from the yellow guard. I mean, it's not like if the line was really bad.
No, his line was good, but it just didn't have an opportunity to do any curling once it got by the guard.
Maybe he was a bit more like hack weight instead of probably back line or, even, I don't know, back of the ring or anything. Because he made contact on the right side of the rock, but just didn't get the swing just past the guard to get enough.
Now, the stone is not completely open, but probably a little bit bigger than half of it is available. And Thomas's job is just to make it go away. He doesn't care if he really sticks or not. He's got a 5-point lead, so he's just happy to eliminate the Michel rock.
I think that he just has to make sure he comes there probably with some normal weight and makes contact, makes noise.
Yeah, and he's happy with that.
Oh, not even normal. That's quite a strong takeout.
So Sven will not want to take 1 this end. He needs to score more than 1. So he'll be throwing this one through the house and hoping the third end is a little kinder to him than the first 2 ends have been. Maybe give Claudio a chance to take a deep breath, and you'll see there it goes through the house with a little bit of speed to it, probably a little bit of frustration on that as well. So they'll be looking to set up another opportunity this end and bring Claudio on board and they get Claudio pumped up, maybe make a game of this yet.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what we're hoping. I mean, if ever they can come back, the great comebacks.
Yeah, we'd like to see a close game for sure.
Yeah, they happen.
I don't know if Thomas is going to oblige, but they're liking this score a lot.
And so now we're going to have a little look at the other scores on the next sheets of ice. And so the young Swedish team, Eriksson, against the young Russian team of Drozdov. I don't know actually if they've already selected their players for the Olympics, the Russians, but it seems like Andrei Drozdov is quite favorite to go in there.
Yeah, they're in a selection process, and I think they're probably going to be narrowing it down to 8 to 10 players here soon. But as you said, I think Drozdov is a little bit in the driver's seat as to having at least most of his team selected. There may be the odd change, but I think he's certainly in the driver's seat of being the Russian representative at the Olympics.
The Russians, who kind of have a solid women's team, but are still kind of seeking their top men's team. I mean, they often come with a lot of players and make changes, etc., and see kind of what's best. They're still always very competitive, as you can see. They're now in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, in the quarterfinal, and they've stolen one in the first end, and they're leading defending champion Oscar Eriksson from Sweden 1-0 after 1, and they're just getting ready for the last stone of the second end.
Yeah, so it's going to be probably a good tight game there.
We have an all-Scottish battle on the next sheet, quarterfinal. David Murdoch and his team are taking on Logan Gray, and you'll see Logan Gray had last stone in the first end and did manage to get a 2, and he's taken a little bit of a mini control in that game. David Murdoch about to deliver his last stone in the second end. Gray leading 2-0.
I think Murdoch is already the team that will go to the Olympics.
Yeah, I believe Murdoch's team is set for the Olympics. Here's our game. 5-0 for Ulsrud over Michel. And in the quarterfinal game, we have the young Italian team.
Amos Mozaner.
And they're playing against Peter de Cruz, Swiss team from Geneva. The two second-ranked Swiss team in the standings of the Swiss ranking tables. And they've looks like they're playing a very defensive game. There's no scores yet. They're just in the early stages of the third end. De Cruz has last stone, and he's blanked the first two ends.
Yeah, Italian teams often tend actually to play quite defensive.
Yep. They're a bunch of young guys. I think they've surprised a lot of people here with their play. And they came through the round robin and won their 16th game last night against another Swiss team, Mauro Freiberger.
Yeah. And young Italian skip who actually played the World Juniors recently. And yeah, he's actually, I think, a very good player. A very calm skip, despite the fact that apparently there's a few trouble these days in the Italian Federation. He still managed to get a team in the quarterfinals, and I think they're going to be already really happy with that result.
I'm sure they will be. Back to our game, you'll see the stones set up that were there. The first Norwegian stone came on the top of the 4-foot. Team Michel threw a corner guard. And then the second Ulsrud stone came top of the 12-foot. Michel threw another corner guard. And then second, Christopher Spa has just made a peel of the corner guard plus the stone at the top of the house and cleaned things up quite nicely. Sven's going to put another corner guard up. He thinks it's maybe a bit too early to go into the house. He's going to put another corner guard up. The object of two corner guards is a chance to get 3 points. You try and get a stone behind one and hope the opposition peels that corner guard off. You go behind the other corner guard. Your opposition presumably hits the open one in the house, and then you bring a second stone in behind the corner guard, the same corner guard, and hope that you get an opportunity for perhaps a double in the house to get the 3 points.
Yeah, so the really, let's say, classical strategy right now.
Yeah, it's kind of a classic strategy. I don't know how often it actually works, but that's what the teams are trying to do. Thomas, of course, is just going to keep peeling guards and try and have as few stones in play as possible. So at some point here, Sven will he'll use the one corner guard he has. He said it's not time yet, so he's going to go one more second corner guard up here with his second's last stone. Ask Sandro Trolliet to put a second corner guard up, and I'm sure you'll see him go behind the other corner guard with Claudio's first one.
Or maybe with Claudio's second one, it depends. But he's not going to come behind after, like...
Now, they're trying to make these even if they can so that they don't set up a double. A nice job by Sandro.
So the rock's coming perfectly there.
Thomas asking which one do you want to hit? He doesn't mind which one goes out of play as long as one of them does.
And as you can see, he's asking to hit on the inside of the rock and on the outside because there is always a chance for a jam on that rock in the center. You always have to be careful with that.
So notice Torger, when he's throwing the upweight, takes a backswing. And again, that's just to help him generate more speed. And successfully done.
And also, like the Norwegians are a little bit enjoying their time by throwing the big weight there.
Yeah. Now you'll see Sven make the move to go behind the corner guard. He assumes, of course, that should he do this successfully, that Thomas will just peel off the other guard, and then he'll have a chance perhaps to hit the one in the 4-foot and roll away.
Yeah, or freeze on it.
Or freeze on it.
One or the other. Actually, don't forget that you can always join the Facebook group called Live Curling on Laula1.tv. Get information on the games. You put pictures now also. And you can follow all the featured games with all the links posted. So, yeah, you can be part of the community on Facebook for Live Curling on Laula1.tv.
See that stone by Claudio just got by the guard and it's left a little bit of an angle that Ulsrud's hoping that Torger can eliminate the guard, run it back on the one on the house and get rid of everything.
Yep. Hard, 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 hard.
Nice
Well,
guard.
the thing you want to make sure is that you get the guard at least.
Yeah,
And
when he
then
saw that
was
he
done.
wasn't going to get the double, he
Normal cast.
just peeled the guard off.
Ik wil een
So there you go. You got the chance
Nase.
to settle up.
nase.
I mean, two options, as we said before. You can hit, for example, roll a bit to the side, or you can freeze, for example, or hit on the nose. Whatever, as long as you already have
Goed.
two in the house. I mean, that's quite
Ja,
important.
brengt net veel.
Sven is
Brengt
hesitating.
net zoveel, vindt hij. Dan wil je
Hit,
hier kaarten.
definitely.
Yeah, 2 is important.
Verlies is goed.
Yeah, at least you
Okay.
got to make sure you get your two. I mean, that's objective number one.
Yep. So they can play a freeze, tap. They don't mind if they tap it back a little bit. Just put a little separation there. They don't actually want to freeze because if they were to freeze on Thomas's last stone, he could perhaps hit it in the nose and really close down the scoring area. So they probably would like to tap it back a little bit. And you'll see, if they're successful, you'll see Thomas hit the open one and try and roll.
Yeah, we see often that at that level of play, even if you manage to make, for example, the perfect freeze, I mean, if it's open, often lots of teams manage to actually, let's say, how can say, unglue the two freeze rocks and like get rid of all the rocks. I
Now
mean,
they've left
players can
the
throw
yellow.
really hard and really precise. I mean, I remember we were practicing that. You know, you would put two rocks perfectly frozen in the button, which would be like technically the hardest place to get rid of them, and you would throw really hard, hit it on the side, and get rid of both rocks. So you have to throw with a big weight, precise. But I think players, like, for example, Team Ulsrud and even Team Michel are quite good at those kinds of shots. So anyway, the two rocks are unglued now, so they're not together. So I think Ulsrud just going for a simple hit.
Thomas had an option of either trying to hit the hit and roll and the double, but because his stone is second shot, he's elected to play on the shot stone and try and roll a little bit over to make it difficult for Sven to get two. Must have been a bit narrow out of his hand because they were right on this immediately.
I want to hit it bad. I think he's a little bit
I
disappointed.
think he got away
that
with
shot.
one there. Let it curl a little bit more, he would have actually jammed it back on his own and left Sven the opportunity to hit three.
Yeah, at least he did get the jam. That's the first good news.
Yeah.
Let's see, the bad news on that shot is that he's leaving, let's say, an open possibility now for Sven Michel to score what we could call an easy two.
I think it's important that Sven hit this on the nose, and yes, it might leave an opportunity for a double for Ulsrud, but
Nog niet meer.
Well,
I
to
don't
score the
think,
way
I don't
it
think
is,
no matter where, I don't think it matters really where you roll here. He's going to have a chance for a double.
Yep.
So I think the longer they make it,
Goed zo.
the more difficult it could be. So you see he's trying to roll toward the outside of the circles there to make the distance between the stones as great as he can. But he does have to stay. So he won't be throwing this with a lot of weight. Probably this would be his soft takeout weight.
Yeah, just like a normal takeout. But I don't know. I think there's a difference in Canada and in Europe to say normal.
Yeah, every team will have a speed that they throw that is their usual weight for hitting stones and staying in the house. And a lot of the teams will be selecting what they call a 10, 10 and a half, which is the time it takes the stone to travel between the hog lines in seconds.
Oh. Tia! Oh, Tia! 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 Oh, oh. Okay.
So you see there is a double there. Thomas is going to have to throw it fairly hard.
Yeah. Well, I think the score the way it is, he will go for it.
They're lining it up.
Yeah,
So
looking.
he's going to have to hit about a half of that top stone with fairly good speed to roll over and hit the other red stone, and Torger's going to see if make sure that that area is nice and smooth so the red rock goes out of play if he should hit it. This is probably not what people would say is Thomas Ulsrud's strength. He's more of a soft shot kind of guy.
I think he can also get the big backswing if he wants.
And he's very meticulous in setting his shoulders and body in the hack. You see he's kicked out under control.
Thing of the sweepers. Boom.
And you'll see executed very well, and right the spot where Torger was cleaning the ice is right where that red stone went out of play.
Horizontally, parallel to the tee line. That was it. They got the angle exactly how they wanted. Really good shot from Thomas Ulsrud, who kind of sadly leaves no chance to poor Swiss team.
Yeah, he's got the ice figured out. Sven will be trying to hit and roll out again.
Big weight.
Whoa.
And we're still going to see a score 5-0.
And Ulsrud's happy with this kind of curling. It's just taking opportunities away from his opponent, and as he can keep eliminating ends off the scoreboard, it puts him a lot closer to victory. So he'd be happy to see Sven blank 2 or 3 more. Sven's going to eventually have to decide at some point, if he doesn't have a chance for 2, that he takes his 1 and puts on his steel hat.
Goes all in.
So between the ends, the teams will be discussing their tactics for the next end. It's pretty obvious for what they want to do, and also to give themselves a little bit of motivation to keep the energy level high.
So we even have a message from Kirsten Stromberg saying 2:25 a.m. Okay. Well, I think now it's 2:30 a.m. even. And so good morning to you. Well, good morning, or good night.
Morning, or I don't know, maybe it's the night before, the morning after. A real true curling fan to stay up at 2:25 a.m. to watch some European curling.
Yeah. And so here in Chicago, so in the USA, so it's nice always, I mean, to get all those comments from all over the world, especially from North Americans, especially from fans who don't even like to sleep. Well, of course, curling is better than sleeping, all right?
Chicago's a happening town, though, so maybe they were just out Saturday night at a local establishment and decided when they got home it wasn't time to go to bed yet. Let's watch some curling. What else is better than that at 2:25 a.m. in the morning?
Thank you for commentary. That really helps us do our curlers. Well, we're quite glad. Often, you know, you can. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to know exactly how to comment if you want to do, for example, for beginners really, or for more advanced. But we're glad that our comments can help you. I mean, it's always nice to hear positive comments, especially from new curlers, because we want to try and make them keep liking the game.
Yeah, curling is, to me, the beauty of the game is that there's never 2 ends the same. The conditions change, the scoreboards change, the players on the ice from end to end, motivationally and emotionally change.
Even when you have a classical start, like for example now, 2 rocks in the house, 2 corner guards. I mean, depending on whatever the player's going to do, the rocks are never going to be at the same place. There will always be a different angle. So I can give similar situations, but I think never 2 times the same doesn't really exist.
Yep. You'll see again the 2 stones in the house and the 2 corner guards, similar to last end. They're hoping for a little better result this end. And Sven might make a little change in tactics. Instead of putting another corner guard up, he may now use those 2 stones in the house. He's going to try and actually draw behind them and worry about getting rid of them later. So he's trying to come around back 4 foot, back 8 foot behind those 2 stones and generate offense that way. An option he could do is he could actually tap the top yellow stone, try and tap it back and leave his red one in front of the 2 and set up a
5.
bit of a pocket using the 2 yellow stones, but he's
Not
elected to
5.
try and come around them. And the reason he's doing that is because so much respect for his opponent. He knows how well they can hit everything, so he's just trying to show them a little different look.
Oh, hatter.
Yeah, so I think finally they're trying to. I don't know if they really knew what they were doing finally on that
Well,
rock, because they kind of stopped sweeping it. And
I think the sweepers let Sven know that it wasn't going to get to the back of the house, so they were yelling, "Let's freeze the one in the 4 foot or the one in the top of the 8 foot." But they were kind of caught between 2 shots and didn't actually accomplish either of them. They didn't get the freeze and then get behind.
Yeah, often that can happen. You know, you don't know if it's like either you sweep it all the way, or for example, you never sweep it.
Now a lot of curlers here would try and hit that red stone on the nose and save 3 yellows, but Thomas is actually trying to take his own out as well as the red stone. He doesn't want to give Sven stones that he can use, so he was hoping actually to take both of those stones out of play, because it's the more stones he leaves in play, the more things that Sven can use to generate offense.
Yeah, and actually that's sort of the irony of the thing, is that right now he's got 3 nice rocks in the house in front of the tee line, but actually he doesn't really want that, because with the lead he has, I mean, he doesn't need to score in the end, and all the rocks in the house in the end will help normally the team which is behind, which is trying to really to freeze. And you know, you got so many more chances to get hidden behind a rock, or to get a little good angle, you know, or something, whatever. So and he just
got behind there,
behind it,
and he's set for, looks like perhaps second shot. It's close.
Yeah, it looks like second
You
shot.
see it's totally buried, but they're going to have to somehow get those other ones out of play to make that useful. I think if it had been me, I think given the situation of those stones in front of the house, I would have perhaps tapped the stones in front of the house back to the tee line and trying to set up a pocket along the tee line.
As we saw Thomas Ulsrud showing that, well, of course they have the first shot, but that the red are lying second right now. So they have to do something about it.
Ulsrud recognizes there's a double available to Team Switzerland by hitting this stone at the top of the 8 foot, picking the one off the 4 foot and rolling behind the guard. So he's going to just peel the guard off and let Sven make the hard shot, and at least everything in the house will be open.
Yeah, well, at least we'll play that kind of shot. I mean, he's sure, I think, of not getting scored more than 2. This is, I think, probably what's in the back of his mind. You know, he could be trying for some little complicated freezes or something, whatever. But if it doesn't come the right way, things can turn a little bit bad. So by just peeling the guard, making sure, I mean, he will have open shots to play in the next ones. But as you can see, the Sven is going to try and use all those yellow rocks in the house to his advantage. I mean, I think he's probably in his mind trying to think, I have to score kind of a 3 right now, otherwise it's going to be really, really, really complicated.
Yeah, Sven has to make sure that he has some opportunity for 2. And you see him studying angles right now to try and figure out where best he can position his red stone to cause problems for Team Ulsrud. At this level, it's all about precision and putting the stone in exactly the right place to cause the other team problem. So now he's going to play a tap back on the top yellow stone and try and set up some opportunities where it makes it very difficult to get the red stones out of play, and give himself a chance to maybe use his own red stones, run them back into the 2 yellow ones and score 2 or 3 that way.
Achtung! Freeze!
Yeah. Like you said, it's really about getting the rock in the right place. I mean, sometimes you want the rock in the right place, but I mean, it's not 10 centimeters to the right, 10 centimeters to the left. It's really in the right place. That's really what you're looking for. Because
you see, he's actually made sure now by tapping that stone up, absolutely for sure that Ulsrud is sitting 2. But it's very difficult for Ulsrud to remove that red stone. Thomas knows that he can't hit that red stone anywhere without taking out his own. So he's going to ignore it. He's going to draw down to the back one and eliminate that stone.
yeah, well, he could come for a peel, for example, on the left-hand side, but I don't think he's so
Torger's going to go have a
anyway.
look and a chat.
Well, he's the man playing the shot. I think it's quite an important one so far in the end right now, depending on what they decide or do.
How's your Norwegian, Roger?
Bra, bra. It means good. Knäckebröd gut. I know that too. Or tusen tack. But sadly, it doesn't go much further. And how about your German now that you're here for a while?
Oh, it's getting a little better. Hanging around Starbucks and just listening in on conversations, I'm starting to pick up a little more, understand what's going on a little better.
So are you living in Bern right now?
I'm in Bern right now, yeah. I now have my Swiss Starbucks Gold Card.
Okay.
So now I have a Starbucks Gold Card in 2 countries. I'm waiting for the Platinum Card to show up.
So if you're living in Bern, then how's your bandage going? Yes, because Switzerland is a very strange country. We have a lot of dialects. Not only we have 4 different languages, but the Swiss Germans speak all kinds of different dialects. Sometimes they don't even understand themselves really well. Whoa. Talking about this, Ulsrud getting rid of all the rocks in the house. Well, all the red rocks in the house.
Yeah, I think that Torger wanted to come down, and when he came down and take a look, they were looking at all the angles, a bit of a pool player to figure out how to hit everything. So yeah, he's cleaned that up quite well, although he has left still those 2 stones on top of the house, which Team Michel will consider to be guards and try and get behind them.
Exactly, but despite the fact that they still have a shot left, I mean, mentally you really have to try and make abstraction from those kinds of shots to just really stay focused, because sometimes, you know, like they were in not such a bad situation before. They had 2 rocks in the house and they find themselves suddenly with 0. While your opponent makes a really good shot and you're kind of there like, oh, God. So you really have to make sure that you really stay focused and kind of, let's say, forget about what the opponent is doing anyway. You've got no control on his rocks.
Yeah, that's kind of what curling's all about, is you really can't control your opponent's shots. So you, as you say, you can just focus on the performance of your own and recognize that sometimes the opponent's going to make some incredible shots, and you just have to stay positive and look toward your own shots.
Yeah, because the only thing you can really do is influence on your own performances. Those kinds of sports, you know, it's like turn by turn, you know, for his pool, snooker, you know, you see the guy sitting down and waiting and looking, and that's it. You can't do anything about the opponent. And
nope.
despite
Yes,
all
have
the
to
great
wait
shots,
for your turn and be ready as you can be.
Just got to focus on your own game.
Thomas is going to attempt to run his own Yellowstone back on the Michel stone. He thinks it's easier, more room for error doing this than trying to pick it out cleanly.
Yeah. Maybe actually if he can even get a double out of all those rocks, you know, get rid of one of his yellows.
Oh, and he got it.
I think that's
and that's
exactly
something for people that are new skips, perhaps. When you're considering which shot to play, perhaps look at which stone gives you the biggest target. So he looked at the front stone. He probably figured he had about 6 centimeters or so on the front of stone to make the shot, whereas he could only maybe see 2 or 3 centimeters of the stone sticking out. So he he picked the one that had the greatest margin for error.
Yep. Yeah, in the end, the goal in theory would be to choose the easiest shots for yourself, to leave the hardest shots for the opponent.
Yep.
And now, in a way, he's leaving a open but quite difficult shot.
Sven's going to still treat that stone in the house as a guard.
Yeah.
And he's going to try and get in behind it and hope that Thomas can't make the run back again.
Oh! Oh! Achtung! Freeze! Sachs! Yeah!
Yeah, but I mean,
Home.
we really see now teams that are really perform on run backs, especially with that kind of distance there.
Yeah, he would have liked to have got that back another meter or so the distance was longer. So you'll see Thomas once again move up to the front stone. He's probably got almost 3/4 of that stone that he can hit and still make the red one behind it go away, whereas he's only got maybe a quarter of the stone if he was trying to hit it, or a half, I guess. A half of that stone if he was to hit it directly, the red stone, but he's got 3/4 of the front yellow one that he could hit and still make the shot.
Yeah, I think this time anyway, he's going to try and stay with 2 rocks in the house.
He would like to sit 2 and force
Sven to 1.
the Swiss team to take a point.
So I think now the Swiss team crossing their fingers that something happens and that shot doesn't happen. It's not made. And good sweeping, and I think that they look quite confident about it.
Okay, he's cleaned everything out.
Yeah, so everything rolled out.
So another successful end for Team Ulsrud, not allowing Team Michel to get anything going, and when they did seem to have something going, Torger came up with a big shot to clear everything away.
Yeah, that was really the shot of the end, I think.
So I'm not sure, but it may be that Sven's going to choose to draw for 1 here.
Yeah, I think after a while he has to sort of be on the scoreboard, and you're still 5 down.
Yeah, he's decided that, you know, I can't really afford to blank another end. So he's going to actually take a point, give up last rock advantage, and try and score by stealing.
Yeah, and I think the advantage, you know, when you're back without the last rock, is that you can place 3 rocks in front of the house actually before your opponent can remove them, because you know about the free guard zone rule, which forbids leads to take rocks that are in front of the house. So with this free guard zone rule, you can throw a first rock in front of the rings. The lead cannot take it out. Imagine that he doesn't push it out to the side, you can put a second one that he could still not take out, and then you can put another 3rd rock in play. So 3 rocks in play you can start with.
Yep.
So if your lead and second manage to get those rocks right, you get your end started properly, you can be actually give a lot of trouble to the other
Sven
team.
knows he's going to get an opportunity to put stones in play. And so he's hoping that from now on every end will be an end full of stones in play, and he can generate some offense even though he doesn't have last stone.
And we'll see the important role, you know, in those kinds of situations of the leads and seconds, who actually sort of prepare the field for the back end. You know, you often see if the lead, you know, even if the lead, for example, misses his first rock, I mean, the team can be running after the end for the whole end. You know, so you see that quite often. You know, sometimes in teams, you know, well, you know, you put, for example, a weaker player as lead, and sometimes thinking it's not such an important position, but it's actually absolutely wrong.
It's now that
every position is as important as the other.
Placement of the front end stones is so important in today's game that it's really important to precisely place those stones to get your team off to the advantage. Otherwise, you'll find if your lead stones aren't properly positioned, you're going to be chasing the other team the whole time.
Yeah, in a way, actually, every position has its own. You need your own strength and to have. I mean, every position is important in the team, and I mean, to be, for example, a good lead, you need to be good at placing the rocks, but also you need usually good practice at sweeping.
Yeah, lead takes on a lot of roles. A team cheerleader, helps the guys stay focused and motivated, and is usually quite often one of the best brushers on the team.
Yeah.
Front ends have to be very, very fit to brush as hard as they do for 8 ends.
Yeah. Except if you're Russ Howard and you're skipping and playing second. And then you got all the advantages. You got, let's say, the no pressure. If you throw hard rocks and you skip.
Yep.
So
So we're in a break now at halfway point of the game, and you'll see on the clock above the players there's 2 minutes left in their halfway break. They're all going to go get some refreshments, so maybe that's an opportunity for everybody else to go back and put on the coffee pot or have a beverage before this game resumes in a couple more minutes.
The clocks that they've added for today, as yesterday we didn't have any, but now it's getting, let's say, really serious, eh?
Well, yeah, there's no clocks for the rest of the Bonspiel. Competition play, when these teams play in World Championship events and in their own national championships and at the Olympics, of course, time clocks are part of the game. Teams have to complete play in a prescribed amount of time, and if they actually run out of time, they lose the game. So quick decision making is always a benefit to teams. There is some time for discussion, but you have to be ready to throw when it's your turn, and the skips have to make timely decisions. You don't want to be getting near the end of the game and running out of time so that you're worried about your time clocks when you should be focused on your shots.
And so, indeed, and when I was playing, for example, in every team, like that was, for example, an advice that we got from Stuckley is that you need to have one player which checks on the clock. And actually, at that time, it was me, so I was, can say, responsible for checking at the clock and making sure I was updating my skip if, like, we had to play a little bit faster or if we had enough time. So he didn't have to worry about that. You know, the skip has got a lot of things to think about. And so you have to make sure that everybody kind of gets to know about the clock, but only one is in charge of really looking after it.
Yeah, every team needs a time manager to keep the flow of play going, knowing how much time should be left after every end and whether you're a little bit ahead of schedule or a little bit behind schedule.
Yeah, the idea with those kinds of organizations in the team is really, for example, to allow the skip, for example, to think about other things. You know, he's got so many things on his mind. For example, he even has to make sure about the clock, of looking at it all the time and stuff. You know, it's always little things that add, and even if the skip doesn't sweep very much, he always ends up really, really tired after a Bonspiel because of, let's say, mental tiredness.
Mm-hmm. Well, we resume play here, and just give you an update on the other games that are going on. Let me see. De Cruz is, after blanking 2 ends, took a 2 in the third end, and they lead 2-0 over Mosener from Italy, playing the 4th end. Murdoch and Gray, after Gray got 2 in the first end, Murdoch responded with 1 in the second, and then the third end was blanked. And then there you'll see the scoreboard with Eriksson and Drozdov from Russia. After a couple of steals early, Eriksson got his 2 back in the third end, and he's tied the game up at 2-2 playing the 4th end.
Yeah, the Russians having, though, turned around the advantage of the hammer, actually even having a last stroke in the even ends. So in the leading position, but the game is not over yet at all.
So our game's a little bit ahead of the others, even because I guess once the 5 happened in the first end, there was lots of takeouts by Team Norway. And so our game is actually a little bit ahead of the other games. And here you'll see the second center guard coming from lead Simon Gempler. And they were trying to throw a high guard there and didn't get it over the hog line. They worked hard at it. And that's another error for Team Michel, who don't seem to be firing on all cylinders this morning at all.
Yeah, this is what we can call a really bad miss.
So I'm sure whatever they had for breakfast this morning, they're never going to have again.
Yeah. Well, I hope they had breakfast also. All right.
One thing that you do as a elite curler is you keep a diary of your preparations for every game. What did you do, and keep track of what worked and what didn't work. And I would say this morning, whatever they did didn't work, and that'll have to go in the diary of something that we never do ever again.
Yeah, it's a superstitious or I
Well,
don't
it's
know.
not just superstition. Maybe the wrong food, or getting to the curling club too early or too late, and not having the proper pre-game warm-up. Maybe not recognizing with each other when they check in with each other that maybe they're not feeling great, and then knowing what to do to get everybody motivated and emotionally ready to play.
Yeah, I think the next time they should just take a big beer in the morning, and they're going to be rolling for the game, that's for sure.
These teams all work at this level. They all work with sports psychologists, and everybody, of course, can throw the stone up and down the ice. They all have superior technique. They can make all the shots. So when it comes to this level, it's all about preparation and more mental skills than physical skills, and knowing what you need to do to be physically and emotionally ready to play every game. And there was obviously a misfire this morning in the preparation for Team Michel.
Yeah. Or it's just not their day in the end. But,
Well,
for sure, I mean, as the Olympic team, they want to make sure that they get really nice and ready. You want to avoid the bad days
Yeah.
as much as you can.
yeah, to say it's not your day, to me, you have to make every day your day, and that's by knowing how to prepare.
Yeah, exactly. At least what you want to do is try and put all the chances on your side so that things will happen properly. I mean, you can always, it can happen. You can sometimes play a bad game or something.
Yeah.
Things turn wrong. But what you want to make sure is that you don't say, oh, I didn't do that properly. I should have done this. I should have gone to bed early or whatever. That's really what you try and do at that level, is make sure you do put everything that you can on your side.
Now, not to make excuses, but Team Michel did just get back from Canada on Tuesday, and perhaps there's a little jet lag there. They've been over there in Canada playing in a couple of tournaments, so they're there for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and often when you get back, it's jet lag hits you the third or fourth day, which should be about now, and perhaps that's something that they need to figure out how to deal with a little better than they have.
Yeah.
Teams do so much traveling these days, back and forth. There's tournaments, of course, in Canada. There's tournaments in Europe. So these teams spend an awful lot of time in airports and in hotel rooms. And that's a complete lifestyle that you need to get used to. And it's certainly not easy. As any of the people who travel for business know, it's not glamorous sticking around airports and riding back and forth to hotels and living out of a suitcase. It's not an easy life. It's very demanding on the body, and knowing how to get the most out of yourself physically and mentally is a chore, but something that these athletes have to learn.
Yeah, well, this thing that you have to manage, like sort of maybe. Well, now teams have to, imagine if you do a big trip, you have to arrive at least 2-3 days before your tournament to make sure you manage to get a bit of rest and get focused, for example. If you get the jet lag, and it's, and even now we're talking about Europe and America, but Team de Cruz, for example, and a bunch of other teams went to play a tournament in China.
Yeah, I believe Ulsrud was also one of the teams in China.
Yeah.
So they were playing in a special
Ericsson
tournament
was there too. And yeah, that's quite a nice trip. Actually, Chinese were also there, actually.
Yeah, there you'll see on the right Robert Hurleman, team coach, and on the left is Andy Schwaller, national coach for Switzerland. He's listening in on the game to hear what the players are talking about, and Robert's keeping some stats. They'll obviously be looking at what went wrong and how we can address that in future, so that we come out with the team comes out with a full head of steam to start the game.
So anyway, hello Andy. It's nice to have you hearing us. Hope we're doing okay.
I don't know if he can hear us, but he
Yeah.
can certainly hear the players.
Anyway,
It's a one-way communication for those people who are worried about rules. The players are communicating with Andy. He's listening to everything they say, but he can't communicate with them. So it's a training aid so that he kind of can hear what they're thinking and saying on the ice.
Oh.
yeah. And if you have any questions or comments, once again, don't hesitate to send us an email at live@curlingchampionstour.org. The address you can see here at the bottom of your screen. We're always looking forward to having a few emails from all around the world. It's always very nice. Positive aspects of globalization, let's say.
Yeah, it's great to know that people all over the world are potentially tuning in on the broadcast. And as you say, curling is such a global sport now. I think there's 46 countries, I believe, in the World Curling Federation.
I think one of the most recent curling federations is Mongolia, who actually has a very curling adapted climate with -50 in the winter. So actually I randomly met their secretary. Actually, I think now he's president of their association, and they're going to build an ice rink over there apparently.
Wow.
So that's really cool. Actually, one thing that really makes a big difference for countries who, let's say, make quick progress or not, because there's many new countries, is actually the infrastructure. I mean, for example, I was 6 months in Lithuania, so I played over there, and we were practicing on ice, on Sunday morning from 10 to 12. We could barely see the houses, and they were preparing as good as they could, but the rocks were doing crazy zigzags. And in the neighboring country, Latvia, they built actually a two-sheet rink anyway, and so with actually really good ice over there.
I believe that was built in an old fruit market.
Something like
as somebody
really,
told me.
In Riga, it's really in the middle of nowhere. It's like I don't know how to find it, but it's there, and so they have a nice little ice rink and actually quite a lot of curlers. It's quite dynamic regions. We don't hear much about them, but they're around, and you can see that there's Team Gilbus who popped out, and also the women's team. I forget now the name, but they were at the Worlds, and despite let's say bad result or ranking, they actually didn't make it all fools of themselves, and those countries are making progress really quickly. I'm also thinking, for example, about the Czechs, who are actually one of the, let's say, leading new nations of curling. And China and all those Asian countries like China and Japan.
And they're getting support. Latvia recently hired Carrie Wilms, former Canadian champion, who is actually living in Italy right now, but she's been hired, and she was here this week working with Team Gulbis. And a lot of these countries are hiring external coaches to help them develop their sport. There was teams here this week from Poland, Slovenia, Latvia,
Slovakia, I think I saw.
Canada had a team here, Mark Dacey, who didn't fare so well. Norway, Sweden, Scotland. It was a real UN looking draw sheet when you started looking at all the different countries that are here. There was probably, 12 or 13 different countries represented here in the tournament.
Yeah, and I really wonder, but one day I'm looking forward to see a Turkish team in one of those tournaments. Because I have the feeling that someday, sooner or later, they will probably come around there and be actually quite competitive, I suppose, because...
Another double by Ulsrud, absolutely perfect. And he scores one, now he's got a 6-1 lead. So he's just not giving... The team is just not giving Team Michel any chance at all. They're playing well, they're keeping it clean, and then when needed, Torger or Thomas are making the big double.
Yep.
So they're up 5 with just 3 ends to play. Sven needs to pull out all the stops now. You see Thomas having a little sip of coffee there to keep his energy up.
Yep. Well, you were talking before about all those foreigner coaches coming to different European countries, especially new countries of curling. And also, reason explains it is that many of those countries, being new, actually don't have a lot of experience in the curling, and this is they probably need also to have somebody who who's kind of born, who played a lot of curling, seen a lot of games, to bring them the experience. In Switzerland, for example, before we had, for example, Ralph Stuckley, who was there, and those kinds of people who were extremely helpful. I remember when we were doing junior practices, and they really teach you a lot, and well, they don't really exist in all those countries, so
getting
import them for now and create their own
getting a basis of coaches is always a big problem. You start out, of course, you put some ice in and you give them some stones, and then what do we do from here? So you basically need somebody who can teach you the basics of how to deliver a stone down the ice, and as you say, a lot of these new countries don't have any of that, so they're hiring from wherever they can get somebody to come along and teach them that and develop their games, which is good on them.
Because you have, for example, the curling books, but I think you also have say competitive curling, for example, for, let's say, especially for things that are quite complicated in the end, like strategy. You need to be able to. It's actually a long time. It takes a long time, a lot of experience. So skip to form a skip, really. He has to.
You'll notice, speaking of strategy, you'll notice Thomas actually asked his lead to Hubbard to throw that stone through the house. He wants as few stones in play as possible. He doesn't need to score any more points to win this game. He just has to prevent Sven from scoring points, and he knows that if he puts stones in play, those are stones that Sven can use to generate offense. So he put his first one on the button as an anchor, as we call it, to anchor his position, knowing that Sven was going to throw a corner guard. And then he says, okay, I don't need any more stones in play. I'm going to throw mine away, and I'm going to start peeling my next shot. So you'll see him walk off now and peel the corner guard.
And if you want to join our Facebook group and have all the infos and pictures, also you can leave your comments, whatever you want on this Facebook page. You're always welcome to join us at Live Curling on Laula1.tv. I think so far we have 1,816 members, which is quite a good result. We're quite happy. We can always have more, so you can also
tell your friends,
join, tell your friends, whatever, and try and keep lots of people in touch with us. And if you love curling, I mean, it's a must, right?
So Team Michel has some options here. They could hit the other Yellowstone in the house and try and sit two. That would give Team Ulsrud 5 chances to get a double and get out of play. So he's decided to guard the one in play and let Ulsrud waste a few, waste a few peeling it off before he makes his move on the yellow. The other thing he could do is, of course, try and freeze the yellow one and maybe generate more than 2 points. And again, he might think it's a bit early to try that because he doesn't want to give Team Ulsrud too many chances at double takeouts.
And so just to remind you, we're watching live the Swiss Cup Basel here in Switzerland, in the north of Switzerland in Basel.
That was
close to Germany and France.
Big mistake there.
Yeah. And I'm commentating. My name is Roger Gulka. I'm commentating with Al Moore, our national trainer of Switzerland from Canada. So how long have you been here now?
This is my 3rd year working with teams from all over Switzerland, enjoying it. Challenging. So I get to travel all over the country, beautiful country, and go in many of the curling halls. Switzerland probably has as many curling halls per capita as all the other countries do combined. So there's lots of facilities here and lots of teams all over the country trying to get better. So as we said, that was a big mistake by Norway. They hit the guard back onto their own stone in the house and left it there. So now Sven has 2 in the house, and he's tried to guard them both with 1 stone and been relatively successful, although Ulsrud thinks he can get both of them out. And when you're up 6-1, you're a little more relaxed, which is always a good way to throw. Relaxed muscles. Torger's going to see if he can get both of those stones in the house out.
Yep. Well, that's when the sort of situation comes where you're looking for what we call a good miss. Well, that's the perfect shot.
And there he
But
did.
one thing you want to make sure is that you're not wide. The worst thing you want to do is hit the guard.
Yep, you have to make some noise with your takeout. Hit something, either the guard in the top or the stones in the house.
I mean,
But the guard is still there, so Sven can go around it and still try to get 2 points. Give himself a chance in this game.
yeah. So I think that when you think you're in the hack, you know, what you must think is you must know that you're not allowed to be wide. And just throw your rock on the broom and that's it. Just focus on the broom with having in the back of your mind there, not wide, that's all. But be on the broom and hopefully make the shot. In the end, actually, the thrower's job is just to throw on the broom with the right weight.
Now, basically, every shot in curling is exactly the same. You're trying to slide out at a target with the right speed and put a good release on it. So every shot the same, and if you can get your mind focused just on those things, you can be a successful player.
Sorry.
That was a bit lucky. You'll hear Torger say sorry. He was aiming at the front one and missed it, but managed to pick the one in the house out.
So this time it's also, let's say, a good miss. If you wanted to miss that one, you had to pass it.
You'll see Sven smiling a bit, thinking that, you know,
Even
even when they miss, they make it.
Yeah.
It's just one of those days. Even when the other team misses, they make it.
But still, the chance for 2 for Michel to come back 6-3, which would force them to steal 2 and steal 1. Let's say steal 6 and steal 4. So that's also good.
So this one is, as we say, sunk. It's right behind the guard, and there's no chance that, well, I shouldn't say there's no chance. He doesn't want to take the chance at trying to hit the one in the house, because if he ever missed both of them, Sven will put another one in there, and then a three becomes a possibility. So he's just going to, I think, he's taking a look at the angle from the hack. And he's just going to peel the front one, and he's accepted that it's acceptable for him if Sven gets 2 points. He'll still have a 6-3 lead with last stone, but he doesn't want to give Sven any chance of getting more than 2. You see him there again, setting himself in the hack, very deliberate.
This is
nice square shoulders, focus on the broom, perfect balance.
You can see where his eyes are looking. They're not looking at the stone.
Yeah,
They're all the
focused,
time looking at the target.
Focus at the target all the way through.
Yeah.
You'll see some of the other players look up and down a few times. There hasn't been any studies done that have conclusively shown that looking up or down is detrimental. In fact, Wayne Middaugh, who plays with Team Howard, is one of the best players in the world, shooting 90% at the last World Championships when they won the gold medal. He looks down twice as he slides out of the hack. You'll notice Sven looking up and down a couple of times as he slides as well. And there the eyes go down, back up, and they'll go back down one more time there.
Yeah, just when he releases, he's looking at, actually, once he knows, I think he's right on the broom.
So
he just looks at his release.
Studies have shown that looking up or down hasn't any detrimental effect on delivery. So it's something we notice, but not something we dwell on as coaches.
Looking straight in front is actually what's written in the curling books. That's what they taught me, you know, when I was learning. Just always look at the target. After it really depends on the players. I think that really what's the most important for the players is just to have always the same routine. Yeah, always do the same thing.
Yeah, the important part of vision is that as you're sliding out just before release, that you should be looking at the target. You can look up once or down as you're sliding out, but as you're in the process of releasing the stone, your eyes should be fixed on the target at the far end. And you'll see Thomas's eyes never waver from that target all the way through. There's no up and down looking for him. He's just totally focused on his target.
So as you will see, usually the players who throw at least that many rocks, and they always have, let's say, the exact same routine. It's a bit like, you know, a robot. They do exactly the same movements all the time.
See, those eyes never wavered from that target.
So the Norwegian skip. Successful curling career.
So Sven is finally able to generate a 2 points. And if he's successful here, he's going to close the score to 6-3 with 3 ends to play, or 2 ends to play rather. And
Put him
stranger
back in the game.
things have happened.
Yeah.
And he'll be pulling out all stops to steal at least 1 in the 7th end. But first things first, you got to execute this shot.
Yeah.
So a nice easy weight takeout, hits and stays, gets his 2 points.
No real
And
stress.
he now trails 6-3 after 6 ends.
So
Han må stjele en toer.
I won't say like he's really back in the game, but at least he's giving himself a chance.
Yeah, he's got a fighting chance now. He'll need to steal at least 1 this end. Thomas scores 1 this end, the game's
Probably
virtually over and likely see handshakes. However, if they can steal 1, because as Roger said earlier, they do get the opportunity to put 2 guards out before they can be removed. If Simon can get a couple of good guards out in front, and perhaps if Team Ulsrud does not make the tick, pushing them to the side, they can generate some offense without last stone. See, all our games are in process here in the quarterfinals of the Swiss Cup Basel, part of the Champions Curling Tour. And we'll update those scores momentarily.
Simon Gempler following his rock.
So in the De Cruz Mosener game, in the 4th end, Mosener was forced to 1. De Cruz responded with 1 in the 5th, so he's up 3-1, playing the 6th end, and Mosener has last stone. In the all-Scottish battle, Murdoch and Gray, Murdoch stole 2 points in the 4th end to take a 3-2 lead. Logan Gray came back with 2 in the 5th, and so David Murdoch has last rock in the 6th, trailing 4-3, and they're on skip rocks there, as you see. And in the last quarterfinal game, in the fifth end, Drozdov was forced to 1 point, and he's up 3-2 against Eriksson playing the 6th. Eriksson has last stone in that one. Team Michel plays out of Adelboden, a beautiful mountain village south of Bern, about 1 hour. And they have a fairly new 4-sheet curling facility there.
Yeah, Martin Stuckey, who was saying, yeah, talking about his village. Yeah. There's not only curling in Adelboden, there's quite a famous ski race over there also. Apparently
Yeah, I
ski
believe
atmosphere
there's a World Cup ski race coming up in January there. So for those people that might be in the area, it's a beautiful spot to do anything really.
Yeah.
And you get an opportunity also to see a world-class ski race. Come join us in Adelboden.
Yeah, well, it seems like you're really enjoying our Swiss mountains.
I'm always in the mountains somewhere.
Yeah, well, in the summer or in the winter, there's always something to do, and it's beautiful. You know, you got the fresh air. For athletes, it's also, you know, a good thing because being being in altitude, you know, you create a lot of, let's say, red globule, get more blood.
I know these
Transfer
guys
more
in the
oxygen.
summertime did a lot of bike training on mountain trails in Adelboden. These players all have, you'll see they all look pretty fit. They all have specific physical training regimens that have been developed specifically for each player, depending on whether they're a front end or a skip or a third. First course of action after a season's over, of course, is taking care of injuries and rehabilitation. And there's lots of that going around, usually. And second order of business is to get the body fit and ready for a very long and getting longer by the year curling season. Seasons used to start October before anybody really worried about curling. Now by the time October rolls around, these guys have usually played in 4 or 5 high-level tournaments. So they're working in June, July, and August in this game. There really isn't much of an off-season anymore.
Nei.
Sven's trying to put that stone in a place where it's difficult to remove,
Klippe en sånn eller på
that
overkjøringen?
a mistake might be made to hitting it on one of the yellow ones. So Thomas is aware of that, and he's going to try and hit this on the center line side and miss the one in the house.
Dobbelt. Hard. Bra.
Got an email here from Walter Grossenbacher, and he's asked questions about team roles. And it's kind of interesting when you're building a curling team. It's like building a corporation. Your skip is obviously usually the CEO, and has the responsibility of calling tactics and also of making last stone. He's got his vice president in the vice skip who helps him with tactics, and also the job of the vice skip is really interesting. I tell the vice skips that their prime job is to make the skip curl as well as possible. So they have to be a little bit of a cheerleader for the skip and know when to calm them down, know when to pump them up, and really understand the psychology of their skip so that they can make that skip the best they can be with their comments and body language. You know, a friendly little joke there, or a slap on the butt, or let's get going is a big part of the vice skip's job.
One of the complicated things about being skip is that you're actually standing all alone on the side of the sheet while the 3 others are all together on the other side, you know, and can talk and stuff. And I think one of the roles of the vice skip is really actually make the link also between the rest of the players and the skip. You know, depending actually from the characters, also the players, you know, you can, that really depends on your team, but you know, you need to have kind of combinations of different spirits. For example, I don't know, it's really about the, let's say the character of the players, but you know, you can have the player that's there to calm down people, like you can have the sort of energetic player who's there actually to sort of pump up people when they're kind of feeling down, you know, or having the guy making the jokes. So this is
everybody
all really
needs to have a job. I
psychological,
think
but
you
very
need to have,
important.
as you said, we had a time manager, and we have a head cheerleader on the team. We'll have a player who is monitoring the emotional level of all the teams, so emotional manager, and he'd be the guy to calm you down or pump you up depending what you need. Obviously, there's somebody has to carry all the brooms in, and that's generally, they give that to the lead to do that, to carry all the brooms in.
Yeah, broom carrier is the lead, except in Team Geneva.
So everybody has roles on the team, and when you watch a curling game, one of the things you can sort of see is who is the guy that's calming the team down, who is the guy that is, and it's not always the vice skip that is the guy that provides tactical information to skip. You see sometimes the skip looks down at the lead, or you'll notice a lead wander in and give lots of comments.
And after, from a more technical point of view, for example, the lead and second are the players who sweep the most rocks, generally speaking, in a normal lineup. And they usually take times, you know, but you time with little timers the speed of how fast the players are throwing. You know, you go usually from the back line to the hog line, and the skip being on the other side actually doesn't have really a good impression of the speed, and even though he always has to throw the 4-foot circle generally. So the sweepers are also there, you know, to tell the skip, you know, about how far to throw, the times, you know, etc. Put the skip in confidence for his really important draw shots. So this is also a role, accessory role, but really important too. Actually, the most complicated thing in curling is probably building up the team, because you need to have 4 players who kind of, you know, like a puzzle, you know, all are different, but in the end they all combine perfectly together.
Yep.
To sort of make sure that everybody can give the best of themselves.
Yep. Everybody does the best. Everybody
position.
understands their roles on the team. They work hard at how we communicate with each other at the hack to support each other, what players like to hear, what they don't like to hear. So there's a lot of work on communication within these teams, how we talk to each other.
Yeah, so those are actually, you know, not all those players really know how to throw rocks. You know, you practice throwing, but at practice you also practice all those little things, you know, about, you know, sort of putting yourself in a game situation. You know, for example, you throw lots of rocks and then the skip has to come and draw the 4-foot, you know, and he has to get the good information from the sweepers, etc., you know. So this is all those little details that you practice, you know, because it's all those little things that makes the team a little bit better, but it's like in any competitive sport, it's really the little details in the end that make the difference. I think that in Formula 1, the difference between first and second is only a split second, you know, often, but it's the little something that managed to get him that split second more.
I think that's one of the reasons you'll see teams that are in curling a little older than other sports, because it takes time to come together as a team. And Team Ulsrud, of course, they've played together for many years. They know each other so well. They're good friends off the ice. They do lots of things together. They understand each other very well. They all know what their jobs are, and that takes time, and that takes lots of experience playing together to figure all that out. And you'll see their emotions don't really change from stone to stone. You probably can't tell when they're losing. Their emotions are pretty well the same as when they're winning. And try and keep the nerves the same all the time. Another double by Thomas Ulsrud. Must be frustrating for Sven to keep seeing all these doubles come down the ice and not really being able to get anything going.
So we're following here the 7th end of the quarterfinal between Sven and Michel from Switzerland against Thomas Ulsrud from Norway here in Basel. This is a curling champions tour event. And I'm Roger Golka commentating here with Al Moore. You can also actually follow information about the Curling Champions Tour on the Curling Champions Tour Facebook page. So you're always welcome here.
See the yellow clock running. Generally they take about 7 minutes to play one end, 7.5 minutes to play one end. So these teams both have lots of time left for one end after this. Time is not going to be an issue in this game for either team.
Jeg tror ikke det. Torgersen gikk jo jævlig rett, men han...
And actually wanted to thank Walter Grossenbacher for his nice email, saying actually also thank you very much for the comments, and we're glad to have you following here early in the morning. I hope you'll be following the next games, also announcing to be also really interesting.
Yeah, the semifinals will be coming up soon. And the winners of these 4 games moving on to the semifinals.
Yeah.
And right now, Thomas Ulsrud with a score of 1 here. Might be time to shake hands, and Sven said, yeah, we've had enough. Yeah. Never really could come back after that big 5 in the first end. And Thomas Ulsrud moves on to the semifinals. You heard Thomas say lucky first end. And certainly that'll be something that Team Michel and the coaches get together to talk about why that happened and how they can avoid starts like that in the future. So Thomas has an hour or two to rest up, perhaps get some more fuel and get ready for the next game.
Yep. And so that was really a pleasure actually commenting this game with you. I think despite the score, we had quite an interesting game, especially from a tactical point of view. I mean, we could see the teams try, you know, with the classic strategies, in the end ending up always with different situations. I think the Norwegians really played a really solid game there. They didn't really leave any chance to the Swiss team. And
no, anytime it looked like Team Michel might get something going, either Torger or Thomas came up with a double to take that chance away.
Yeah, those doubles really help a lot because they kind of kill, you know, the dynamics in the other team. And I mean, also in the first end, you know, okay, the Swiss team played a few bad shots, especially at the wrong moment. But, I mean, the Norwegians didn't choke at all, and they made all their shots properly. And that's what you want, you know, is when the other guy makes a mistake, is that you really jump on him right away.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, they had the feel for the ice right off the bat. They knew what it was doing, and Sven's team came out a little flat in that first end, not seeming to have the weight or reading the ice properly, and Ulsrud made him pay.
Yeah.
So we're looking at an update here with Eriksson, who managed to score his 2 points in the sixth end, and he has mini control of this game, up one after 6 ends, without Lastone playing the seventh. So Drozdov will be trying to either score a 2 there or blanket so he can come home with last rock advantage.
Yeah, so really important end to score actually this sixth end, because it in theory should give you the last rock in the eighth end if you play the seventh properly.
So now playing the seventh end as well. The sixth was blank, so Logan Gray, Murdoch is blank the sixth end, and can't see the house there, but that game is anybody's right now. It's the classic one down with last stone scenario. It looks like that end was blanked.
Yeah,
and so Murdoch will be taking the position coming to the last end, down one with last stone. Gray will be up one without, the classic confrontation. And in the Cruz game,
which we'll see soon.
There's our scoreboard, and the big 5 jumps out at you. In the De Cruz game, that's over too. De Cruz got one in the fifth, stole 2 in the sixth for a 5-1 lead, and the Italians said, thanks a lot, that's enough. And they probably played most of the seventh end and didn't get anything going, and so they shook hands. So De Cruz moves on to the semifinal. So the semifinal matchup will be De Cruz versus Ulsrud, and the winner of the Eriksson-Drozdov game will take on the winner of the Murdoch-Gray game.
Yep. Semifinal, which is going to be at 11:30 a.m. Here in Basel, Switzerland. This is a Curling Champions Tour event here in the beautiful city of Basel, actually right next to Basel in Arlesheim, a little bit down south, not very far away from the city center in the end. Switzerland is a small country, so even if you're out of the city, you're not that far anyway.
Matt, you're 5 minutes from France and 5 minutes from Germany here.
Yeah, so nice region to travel in. It's good to make a little publicity for Switzerland always, you know. It's a very friendly country. If you like the mountains, if you like skiing in the winter, if you like hiking in the summer.
Yeah, beautiful rivers. The Rhine River goes right through Basel, so want to take a cruise down the Rhine. It's a place to do it.
Yeah. So anyway, so we were here live in Basel. My name is Roger Gilka. I was commentating with Al Moore. This is a Curling Champions Tour event. Don't forget to join us on our Facebook page. You can send us emails. You can follow the Curling Champions Tour website, on the Curling Champions Tour website for the next tournaments. And that was really a pleasure to comment with you, Al, and it was great for the game. And We'll see each other soon at 11:30 a.m. Thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure.